And you said you already have 6 in mind. What are the issues and what are the types of bills that you want to introduce, if you win your seat?
I got about 3 out of 4. About 3 out of 6, maybe 4 already in mind. And then I left like 2 or 3 spots open. So after I'm elected, I can hold town halls and ask my constituents what they think the other 3 should be, just so I can be responsive. But there are certain promises I made on the campaign trail that I think are really important to keep with both my brand, who I am, and the things I think are so important. The first one is banning fracking. Fracking is pollution. It's not a good practice, offshore oil drilling included. And although the governor is Republican, the governor has said, both on the campaign trail when he was running and while in office, that he will support a ban on fracking. Now, if he's serious about that and not lying, then I will be introducing that bill, and I want to see how serious he is. That will be the first bill I introduce if elected to the House, is a bill to ban fracking in the state of Florida, including offshore oil drilling as well. Now, there are some things that have already been done, but I think it's time to close the deal on this. And this will be bipartisan legislation that I think the governor will sign if he's serious about his commitment to the environment. Then we'll test that with this bill. But there are other things, including land acquisition as well, land conservation, and other things environmentally I think should be either included in that bill or in a separate bill to take that on. So that's one of the bills I think is one of the bills could probably even be split into 2 that I think is extremely important environmental legislation.
And I have to tell you that I live in a house that shakes every other day or like every day, right? And I didn't know what it was until like last summer. I went to a legislative wrap up, and Cindy Polo and a couple other people were there, and they were talking about it. And I'm like, you know what? I used to tell people that my house shook like every day around like 11, something like that. And they said, no, you're crazy. I'm like, no, my house really does shake. And she said, yes, that's because they're doing all this fracking and blasting or whatever. Because I live out west. So like, I feel the effects of it. And I'm like, is it okay for my house to shake? I'm sure eventually like it's probably not okay, and maybe there's like some cracks in the foundation or something that I don't know about. But I'm definitely one of those people that will be like, yes, do it, because I feel the effects of it. I feel the effects of it.
Right. And it's polluting the water. There's also water pollution that's and there's waste fracking water as well that they're trying to inject into the ground as well. So there's just so many whole layers to the fracking side of it. And I mean, that's just one of the bills. There's so many other bills I'm thinking about that I have on the mind. But the other thing outside of bills that I want to introduce if I'm in the legislature is appropriations is important, because as a representative, your job isn't just to pass bills. It's also to bring money back to your district, which is important. And I have a number of projects that I want to do. I know the incumbent has been in the seat and hasn't passed much legislation since he's been there for 6 years, to be honest. I don't know what he was doing. We paid hundreds of thousands, over $100,000 for him to sit there for 6 years and haven't been able to do much. And, part of that is his blame. Part of that is not, because Republicans do control the legislature. But there are things you can do as a representative, being more out there in the public, doing more things for the community, as well as appropriations. And the governor has just about vetoed almost every Democratic appropriation. And he left some things in there. But I think there are certain things like rebuilding our wastewater plants, our water treatment plants, our sewer systems is important. Also, infrastructure projects. Fort Lauderdale, you probably heard about Fort Lauderdale.
But they're expanding the airport. They're building, making I-595 bigger. So isn't that part of infrastructure? Like, giving us all these highways and byways and toll things, and
it's the wrong thing for them to be looking at.
Like construction going on the roads.
It's the wrong type of development.
Okay.
I told them what we need to do is we need smart development. And smart development is looking towards the future and looking towards the problems that we're actually facing. There's solutions. Let's just make everything bigger. Let's build more condos, more buildings. And while some of that is good in a way, there are things that we need to look at that may be a little bit different. And some of the things is we have a water crisis. So what we need to do is we need to dig in that ground and replace those pipes that have been there for 60, 70, 80 years. Those water pipes, they're breaking. We need to deal with the sewer lines that are breaking as well and seeping literal human waste into the streets and people's yards. We need to deal with the water quality in Wilton Manors. We need to deal with water quality fallout in all of these different places. The other part of infrastructure is our power grid. And if we're really going to lead the carbon neutral future that we're trying to have, we need to rebuild our power grid. And that looks like many different things. So infrastructure is a mixture of everything. Infrastructure there's the physical infrastructure. There's also the economic engine as well. We are a tourist-based economy. And as a tourist-based economy, we got to keep people coming in. And the best way to keep people coming in is you want to keep things as affordable as possible for people. You want to put more people to work. And you want to have smart development in places where, like, for example, I've proposed there's a lot of places that don't need to be developed, but there's a lot of empty lots in places where people that's not developed. Build affordable housing there. Build a new condo to increase the values of certain things, but also to lower the property values or to lower the other houses and make it more affordable for other people. That's in turn, you create more jobs. People that live in those communities, work in those communities at the same time. That's more tax revenue for us to do more of the things we need to do. Increase standard of living. Because right now what we have, and one of the issues that we faced during COVID was a lot of people went out of work. And because a lot of people went out of work and we had a big budget deficit we're going to be facing, is that a lot of municipal governments don't have a lot of revenue coming in right now, because you can't just tax people if they're not working. So they don't have revenue to do certain things. That's going to be a big problem in the next fiscal year. So we need to look at how we're going to address that so that we can do infrastructure projects. But more, smart development and so many other things help, because then in turn we get more revenue that we can use for different projects, that we can fix infrastructure, roads, highways, bridges, power grids, water systems, sewer lines, water treatment plants, garbage pickup, which I think garbage and recycling should be, daily instead of just twice a week.
Yeah,
so many other things.
And recycle once. They only pick up the recycle like once a week.